Hello and welcome to the Pikeville City Manager's Report. I'm your host, Jill Fraley, along with Pikeville City Manager Donovan Blackburn, here to discuss lots of things going on in and around the city of Pikeville, getting you up to date on all the latest events and happenings and things that you can expect to see in your community coming up very, very soon. Good day to you.
Well, Jill, good day.
It has been a long time, hasn't
It
it?
seems like it has been forever.
It has been. It's been almost a month.
It has
Well,
been.
actually, it's been a month. It was the week before Hillbilly Days when we were here, so it has been a while. But we do have lots of things to talk about, some great events. We're really into the summer season already. I know summer isn't officially until like the 20th or 21st, but been beautiful. Lots of things going on, lots of happenings, lots to get people caught up on.
Well, and so true, and obviously part of the reason why that we haven't been together, it's been so busy. That between schedules and our actually commission meetings, we've had several cancellations, and we've had several special meetings, and there's just so much. Really, there is just so much going on right now. It's a blessing, but sometimes can be very challenging in the process. So.
It can be, but we're going to work our way through some great things
Yeah.
going on. First, let's get people up to date on some of the things going on in the downtown area.
Sure. Well, of course, the Expo Center. There's a lot going on we can talk about, but in the downtown area, I'm trying to pull my notes out here because I don't want to mess up these dates. The big event, of course, is the upcoming block party. Let's see.
That is this weekend.
Yes, that is
This
this
weekend.
weekend. Unfortunately, I printed off too many sheets of paper, and some of them are duplicates, Jill.
Well, it's when two of our greatest, I think, parties come together.
Yes.
We have Muscle on Main and Main Street Live. This really is, this happens occasionally when the two are meeting on the same weekend. So this is going to be a great time because we're incorporating 50s,
Yep.
the Jaguars performing, and then you have all the classic cars too. So it's like a perfect marriage.
Well, and I should throw my papers away because you know more about it than I do at times.
It's called morning radio.
You're all involved up in all that. But yeah, this is actually two papers on the block party that's going on this weekend. And the reason why I wanted to bring my sheets is because this is not only the opening, but it's the big one. It's one that really we started off with Main Street Live being the 50s theme and having the Jaguars and the hot dogs and there's the best 50 costumes contest, a hula hoop contest. Again, the famous footlong, the cruising cars, as you just mentioned. So it's a great weekend with a lot of fun, a lot of participation by the community. And last year we had probably our biggest event last
I
year.
would think so. It was probably the biggest crowd that we had all season long. Of course, the crowds are growing and growing, but this is one that's really popular. What I thought was great, though, I spoke to Minta just this week, and she was telling me there's going to be a hula hoop contest, lots of things for the kids and families really to get involved with on the plaza at the Billy Johnson stage on the Main Street entrance of the Expo Center. Like we said, though, the biggest crowd that we had last year, but they do the footlong hot dogs, the Jaguars are there. It is such a festive event.
It really is, and it's very nostalgic. Obviously, not for a lot of the folks that of all ages that get to enjoy the music, but still it brings back some of the memories. And you sit back, and look at Facebook at all the pictures that are on there there's been a lot of uploads from back in the 50s and 60s eras of the town, and during that time, town was different than it is today because it was the main hub of the community. So downtown was hustling and bustling, and to see a lot of the folks back down in town having not only events like this, but I was just looking at the city park reservation list, and again I would remind folks that the city park is available for rental, the gazebo and the shelter. Most weekends is already tied up. We don't charge anything for that. So you can go on the city's website at www.cityofpikeville.com and look at the reservation icon, and both either the city park or all the parks shelters up at Bob Amos. Again, the city does not charge for those, but we do allow people to reserve them so that way that they'll make sure that they're available. But pretty much almost every weekend going forward, the park is reserved, but there's still availability during the weekdays. You can rent the city's community center, which is at the Garfield. We're not there anymore.
Had a move since then.
Yeah, we've had a big move, and our offices have changed, and the chamber does reside there now in the upstairs, but the community room is still available. I've had several people say now that the chamber's there, I assume the community room's not available, and that's not the case. The community room is available. It's available Monday through Thursday from 5 o'clock until 11, and then on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, it's available all day. So again, there is a charge for that to pay for the electricity and the cleanup. But you can get online again, the city's website, and book that. And that's what is so unique. We've had this discussion several times. We look at not only all the events going in and around the community. This past weekend was unfortunately I had to be out of town, but it was just an absolutely wonderful event. I think everybody, candidly speaking, was taken by surprise at the amount of participants at the
Color run.
Yeah, the color run. 5K is what I was trying to think of. But the pictures, I got updates. I called in and asked them how it was going and got updates and looked at Facebook at all the pictures, and it was just amazing. All the colorful characters and all the fun.
Yeah. It's another one of those things too. Lane did a fabulous job with that. It was the first one, and when you have that first run and you organize something of that magnitude, it can be a little bit nerve-wracking. But she did a fabulous job, Leanne Hughes. And what I love too is seeing all the families that brought their kids. And when you have events like that on a Saturday morning that can involve your kids and really encourage participation and fitness by the kids, raises money for a wonderful cause. And we have so many different runs that go on around our area. But I thought the fun thing was when it was finished, to drive down the different areas and the paths of where the runners went, and you saw bright pink and bright purple and orange. And for people who probably have not been through our city or down the bypass area, I'm sure they were thinking that we were just nuts. But they were great though, and that's just one of the things that I think is unique about our community, is that it's so geared toward involving families. The entire family.
And I wholeheartedly agree with that. And what's been really fun for me in not only my position with the city, but on the City Tourism Commission also, and working with the county, is that the type of different, as you're mentioning, it's not only the events, but it's the type of events that are coming forward, and the amount of participation we're getting from all walks of life, wanting to have this event or that event, and what it represents for the community. And traditionally, it's always, to your point, tied to some kind of organization or something that this community is very giving for. So this was a great event. I just had a conversation yesterday with the Artists Center chairman, Frank Dahlhair, and actually Daryl Maynard. I met with him yesterday, and both were talking about it. And of course, this is going to be an annual event. And I don't disagree. When Leanne and I had discussed the event originally, I think last week there was something like 120 people registered, and then it really bloomed. So I know that, and when you have things like that, people are understanding and patient because it's the first one. But we now know a little bit, I think, more what to expect.
Yeah.
When I say we, the Artisan Center Group, but and it's for a worthy cause. And then the Artisans program has continued to grow. The other project, obviously, we unveiled during Hillbilly Days, which was the new bear that's now in front of the new City Hall. If you haven't seen it,
he's gorgeous.
It is an absolutely wonderful piece of art. But there's still 4 other bears that's being considered for that we have in our possession, and that the Artisan Group is, as you know, are working on an RFQs for request for qualifications. I'm sorry, I get used to these acronyms, but the RFQs for different artists. So we're hoping to get some Hatfield McCoy theme out of this. I had a good conversation yesterday about just that very thing. So it is amazing. And then the other thing that I'm really blessed to enjoy more, I won't say more than anything, that this job brings to me, because it is very rewarding. It obviously has its challenges at times,
as every job does.
As every job does, and in this position, I get to be on the front page of the paper a lot of times. So it's very fun and very rewarding. And when you see a program or something like this develop in the community, and you see the smiles, to your point, on the kids' faces or the people's participation, knowing what those funds go for, it is very satisfactory. But I live, obviously, as you know, beside the park. But sitting in the park and looking over every weekend and seeing a wedding, seeing the birthday parties, seeing the park absolutely packed, people passing footballs, laying on the lawn, and I can go on and on, is wonderful. And then just this right before school let out, it was bus during the weekdays is tradition when all the county and the independent school system takes does their picnics out, and to see bus after bus and city buses and numerous county schools coming into the city utilizing these magnificent facilities is just absolutely wonderful. So I said this last week, is that a lot of times that we call ourselves, we are the city of Pikeville, but really what we are the regional hub for the area, and as a big part of the county, and seeing those people that live, work, and visit within our community coming in and enjoying all those amenities and participating in all these events is a wonderful thing, and that's what we're here for.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the greatest venues that we have, I think, in the state, but especially in Eastern Kentucky, is our Expo Center. It is just, I can remember when it wasn't there, and it was just that big blank piece of property. And now to know that the different acts and the people that are coming in there, and not only the concerts and things of that nature, but also the fact that it's reserved for quite regularly for civic events, for weddings, for receptions, parties, and that thing. Steve St. John was with us a few months ago and told us how many days out of the year that it was actually had something going on, and it's really mind-boggling that people don't really know how that Expo Center is used. But this weekend, actually next weekend coming up, of course we have Main Street Live this weekend on the Expo Center Plaza, but then we have the Gaithers, which is a wonderfully popular Southern gospel group that has been around for years and years and years. If you've never seen them, they're just phenomenal. They really are. They're coming. They're coming.
They are, and they cater to this market. I mean, this is a market, obviously, a lot of, we enjoy our gospel and Christian environment, and the Gaithers is a great name, obviously, amongst this type of music, and it's a return. Obviously, they've been here before, and they've been very successful, and a lot of people love this music. So, if it's something that you're interested in, we certainly encourage everybody to get online and support the Expo Center. And I think you really hit a major point, is that just because there's not a concert going on, Jill, doesn't mean the Expo Center is not busy.
It's always busy.
It is. There's always something going on in the Expo, whether it's a meeting, whether it's a wedding, whether it's, again, a business event, a small conference. Concerts are a big part of it, and we've obviously over the past several months have had our fair share and have several coming forth. So it is a quality of life for this community. It's a sense of pride. And back to the same, when I talk about sense of pride, I started in 2004, so I've been with the city almost 10 years. Not a little over, it'll be 10 years in January. And in the 10-year time, the Expo Center wasn't built. The landscape of downtown just in the last 10 years has completely changed. And I remember when we bought our house beside the park and looking over, the park would look totally different as it does now. And the Riverfield over there was just nothing but parking. So they had just started the Expo Center, and the parking garage was under construction. And you look now at what this Expo Center has brought to the community. You look at the Main Street, the stage, the Billy Johnson stage, how we utilize that facility now. It's not just a flower planter. It's evolved into a community gathering point, and that where we can utilize both the city park and the facility. The Judicial Center, is obviously a major piece of that. The new the jailhouse, not to mention the hotels and the way the university has grown. So the landscape has changed, but part of changing a landscape, and I guess this is my theme for talking about the Expo Center, is supporting our local communities, because we need, as the hospital continues to grow, for example, and I mention them frequently because they're our largest employer in the city. So when you look at the hospital and the growth that we've had since I've been here, which is almost tripled, then, and you look at all the projects they've got going on, but in order for the hospital to be successful and to provide quality care, they got to bring in quality staff. And quality staff wants amenities and quality of life of things that they can enjoy. So the Expo Center is important, and I use that as one example, but there's many, many more examples that I can use. Last night, I'll give you a quick little story before we mention the other acts here. But I went to, my wife and I, we had a late commission meeting yesterday, with a special meeting. I got home about 7 o'clock and hadn't eaten, so we went to Cherokos to eat. And right after I finished my meal, I ran into a couple that were just traveling through and had heard, had no ties to Pike County. They were from St. Louis and had no ties at all, and had just heard of this neat little town and understood the Hatfield and McCoy theme, but they were just in awe of what was nestled here in these mountains, looking at the pristine, that downtown area. They really complimented the Expo Center, but they had actually traveled over into the Hardy area and had done the driving tour for the Hatfield and McCoy. So they were, we take so much for granted at times, because they were really talking about the pristine beauty of the mountains, and how that everything was in valleys and the roads were twisty and turny, and that it was just outside.
And there's still good roads, though.
Yeah, and they're not full
That's
of
a big point.
potholes, and I mean they're really good and very well kept up, and so there is just so much for us to be proud of. And this past weekend, I told you I wasn't here because I had a trip planned with my wife's family. We went, a couple of us went to the Breaks Interstate Park and camped. So just again, the amenities that are within our community that are part of Pike County are just absolutely phenomenal. But to visit the parks and we walked the nature trails and done some things I haven't done in quite a while, and was a little sore for it a day or two later.
Funny, before you got here today, when we started our taping, Ronnie and Al and I were talking just about those trails at the Breaks and how challenging they can be at times. But I was actually in Elkhorn City yesterday. I have to go through there to get to the Breaks. And to your point about how beautiful our area is, it really does amaze me sometimes that we just forget. Yes. I think sometimes we were there at the river and just doing a little fishing and wading and things. And I looked up and I thought, you see all the mountains, everything is completely untouched, and you have this beautiful little city sitting right in the middle of the mountains that's, 35, 40 minutes from downtown Pikeville, but it still is another opportunity that all of our residents have, and we really don't take advantage of those moments. But I know for certain that we live in one of the most beautiful places that God ever created.
I 100% agree. And then, you talk about Elkhorn, at how it's, again, nestled in a quaint community, beautiful river running right through it, the railroad
Gorgeous. Off
of it, ACT, Artist Collaborative Theater, is part of the community. And it's just an absolutely gorgeous community that gives you a great warm feeling when you drive through or are part of. And on the way to the Breaks, and obviously, the road system's getting ready to change. I think that area for the good for a long time. There's a lot of construction going on over there, but when that project is completed, it's going to really open up that area, I think, far better than it ever has been. But it's just amazing when you take back and you take a breath and look around at what we've got. We took some of the off walking trails and to where you can get close to the cliff and kind of look over at God's great creation and just look at the river below you and the mountains in front of you, and it's just you take in awe.
Yeah.
And we're a very blessed group of folks, and the thing that I think, in my opinion, that our biggest challenge is that we have to recognize as a people what we already have and stop worrying about what others are saying about us, because
and just enjoy what we've got.
That's exactly right. Because there's a lot of people that are very envious of what we have and what we represent in this community, and so I'm very proud of that. But the Expo Center, back to your point, has been is a pivotal piece of this community. One of the neat things about you're talking about the Gaithers is that Steve St. John has been one of the things we challenged him with was to be a little bit more active in trying to get different type of groups in here. So whether it was a country concert recently or rock or the Gaithers, and then of course the new one that was just announced is the Big Night Out tour, which is a little bit unique because it's music of groups that were around 7-8 years ago. They have, I got online because some of this stuff I don't, we spoke about this before we came on air. It wasn't my realm, but it's things that you deal with on a daily basis. But I got two boys that this was their era of music, so I called them up and say, who are these groups? And they were, I can't believe they're coming. So
it's going to be a fun time. Let me say quickly about the Gaithers, though. Father's Day is the 16th. It's that weekend, and that's just the Friday before Father's Day. I can't think of a better gift to give your father, a grandfather, uncle, for the entire family to go out and enjoy the Gaithers, because it is going to be on Friday night. So come to Pikeville, have dinner downtown, go see the Gaithers. It'll be a great show. I've seen them several times, and they never disappoint. It's a really unique and wonderful feeling once you leave there. So I think it's a good Father's Day gift. Don't forget that.
That's a great idea.
You can get them at the online or at the Appalachian Wireless box office, of course. The Big Night Out tour that you mentioned was just announced. Yes. It's going to be July 5th at the Expo. You have Hoobastank, Lit, Alien Ant Farm, and Fuel
Right.
coming. Now those are, like you said, they've been out of the main spotlight for just a little bit, but we do hear them regularly on the radio. Some great music, songs that you didn't know who sang them. That's what you're going to hear when you get at this concert. But it's a different kind of concert. It's different. It's a different genre of music. We hear a lot of country acts that come in because that's kind of, that's what our area is really enjoys the most, seems as though. But this is a totally different sound, but still a great sound. It's going to be a great show.
Well, I think so too. And the intent of the expo is to touch all walks of life, and whether it's the circus or wrestling or
Disney
or again, rock or country. And this is a little different twist. And I agree. My wife is and I know you are too, Jill, but a major music fanatic, and she's always got her earbuds in and the iPad on or the XM radio on or the radio on, and I said, these groups, some of their names are familiar, but I don't know what they sing. And
we need to make you a playlist.
Well, she brought up her playlist. She said, well, here's one, and I recognize, and here's one I recognize. These are to your point, very popular songs that you heard, a few years ago that are still on the radio that cater to all walks of life, because a lot of the music is things that everybody would really enjoy. So I'm really excited about this one. It's a different kind of concert.
Yeah, it should be a lot of fun.
So I think it will be.
And it should be pretty, sometimes rock bands are a little bit hardcore and you don't typically want to take your kids or think that there might be an age limit. All of these groups are going to be fine for your children. Also coming up, we mentioned country concerts. Rodney Adkins going to be here in August. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that coming up in the coming weeks. But that's going to be around our new festival.
Yes.
That we're getting ready to have in August. But tickets are on sale for Rodney Adkins now.
They are. They are on sale now, and you're right. We wanted to have an act built around the festival, that new Hatfield McCoy's Heritage Days, and again, that festival is Labor Day weekend. The unique thing that I am excited about, not just about the festival, and again, the city and the county tourism and the county judge and myself working together to put this festival together for the community, because it is continually to grow. But the other part of that is this is also the weekend that the new Hilton Gardens will be opening. So
hard to believe, and it's right on schedule too.
It is, and it's looking magnificent. Mike Alexander, who is the new manager there, he's a little nervous, I think, because he said normally you don't have an opening right during a festival to where it's a soft opening. So he knows there's a little challenge ahead of him. Mike is a great guy. He's originally from West Virginia. If folks haven't met him, Sam Keefe came in and operated the Hampton Inns, become one of us as a big implanted into the community.
Great guy, yeah.
But Mike's originally, I think he's been down in Florida or South Carolina, it's in that area managing, but he's originally from West Virginia, wanted to get back closer to home. So the management group that manages H&W, these two hotels, latched onto him and brought him into the fold, and I've had several conversations with Mike, and he actually, the mayor just recently appointed him to the city's tourism commission. So we've brought him in, and we've already got him in.
Breaking him in right, aren't you?
Very much so. But it's based on the interior design that I've seen, and people are going to be very impressed with this. And yesterday I had Jill, there really is just so much going on. I get really excited when I start thinking about it. There's just so much going on right now in the community that the next 5 years our community is really going to change. There's a lot of growth. I'm meeting with more businesses now than I have ever met with before. I had a gentleman in here yesterday from Portsmouth, Ohio. Again, I can't name who the business is because he's searching, and it's a restaurant firm, well-known national restaurant, and they were in the market looking. I've been talking to him for the past couple of months, but the funny thing was he's from the Ohio area, and he called me up and he said, I've never been to Pikeville, but I keep hearing about Pikeville, Kentucky. And he said, I want to put one of my restaurants in Pikeville. So he came sight unseen, ready. He asked me basically he's working with a couple of people, realtors and myself, and to take him around and just show him the area. But when he came yesterday, and I spent about 2 hours with him, he just said, my gosh, this is one of the best kept secrets. He was amazed at our traffic count. He was amazed at how people shop the area. But he was most impressed with, again, is just the layout and the friendliness of our community. So that speaks volumes. And one of the things that he said, I cannot believe in a rural community you've got a Hampton Inn. It's the prettiest Hampton Inn I've ever seen. This parking garage is unbelievable. The layout of the university is just phenomenal. You got this big hospital going on. He said, this is really a happening community. So it's, again, just in one day, folks from St. Louis and another group from Ohio, is sitting there bragging and just amazed with what has happened here. So I keep bringing this theme up because, when I read and see, and as we all do in the paper, whether it's people from Lexington, Louisville, or outside, talking about how backward or how unproductive we are, we need to get beyond that and stop believing that and start looking at what we actually have. So these were really great comments to have and a lot of great things to go on. But Mike is going to be a great asset to the community, and this Hilton Garden in with the Hampton Inn will give us about 250 rooms in downtown, which will allow us, again, to promote and look for small conferences. So I'm really excited about not only the Hatfield-McCoy Heritage Days, because we got a lot of participation with that also, but also the opening of this new hotel.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about Hatfield-McCoy Heritage Days. This is going to be the first year that we've done this. It's going to be Labor Day weekend. I won't say that it's going to be as big as Hillbilly Days, but I will say that in a few years it probably will be as big because I was speaking to Jesse Bowling just the other day, and he was telling me, you start the planning stages of any kind of festival, and you really don't know where it's going to go from there. You just want to get the basics in first. He said he was amazed with all of the vendors that were calling him wanting to be part of this first ever Hatfield-McCoy Heritage Days. And of course, with the popularity of the mini-series that went on and the resurgence that we've seen in the interest in around our area, that I anticipate will go on for many years to come. It's just, it's amazing to see how people want to be involved in something like this.
Well, it is, and as you're aware, I'm sure, Jill, is that the film industry is continually looking at how that they can retell this story. So there is some other series that are coming out on TV soon. There's two production companies currently in the market, one over in the West Virginia and one that hopefully will be locating in Pikeville sometime probably around July. And one of them, and I think the interest is one of them is telling part of the Hatfield-McCoy story, but the other one is telling the story of a coal mining. It's around a coal mine story. And this is a true script out of a group out of a production company out of New York that will bring in about 40 to 60 people to actually do a movie here. Mm-hmm. Using our landscape, it may not say Pikeville, but it will be our landscape, our community that they use. But they came here because of the Hatfield-McCoy theme. So we've gotten so much interest in this because of this. So I don't think this will slow down or stop. I think the region's name will continue to echo for the many years to come. Tourism will be a great opportunity for us. So we need to, again, put our arms around that and hold it and help diversify our economy in that sense. But I agree wholeheartedly with you. Looking at the vendor list that we have now and the amount of people that are participating, currently the park's full. We've got everything from Main Street, the Huffman, the Expo Center, the Plaza, the park, all that's got activities in it right now. So I'm actually working, hopefully, I keep telling the judge, Rutherford, that I've been working trying to get the bylaws put together so that we can actually have our first official committee meeting, though we've got two great guys, Tony Tackett and Jesse Bowling's been working together to really pull this thing together. So I'm hoping within the next couple of weeks that we'll actually have our first meeting to actually validate and solidify all the actions that the hard work that they have put into this. But I think give it 3 years and you'll have something that will be equal to what Hillbilly Days is.
I think so too. And it's the perfect time of year too. Labor Day weekend, lots of families, it's the last big weekend that people get out and really kind of utilize the outdoors.
Well, I'm glad I'm glad you said that, because the other thing is it is a weekend. It's not to interfere with everything else going on. It's a Saturday, where Hillbilly Days is a Thursday, Friday, Saturday. This is a Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Monday being obviously the holiday. So timing, weather's usually really nice during that time, and so I'm really excited about what this will lead into.
Yeah.
And
looking forward to it. Should be a great time. We've talked a lot about different projects that are currently under construction around the area, and we want to update some people on those projects, especially when Sean was here. He really gave us in-depth insight into the horse trail project that's under construction. There's going to be another trail around the trail that's currently there that will we'll go off from the horse trail, but this is something that's really become very popular. I know there's a horse camp in the Letcher County area for kids this summer, and I think about the interest that they have. We're going to be able to do things like that here, obviously, but with our horse trail that's being constructed, going to be some primitive campsites. You're going to be able to lodge your horses there, and then with the trail ride that goes on in Knott County, that's really grown to just blows your mind at the number of people that participate there. We're going to be able to offer even that activity here now.
Well, I wholeheartedly agree. We're really excited about this. This is something that Mayor Justice has been, his family's been in the horse business for many years, and he's a licensed veterinarian, and
A lot of people don't know that.
No, and he's not a practicing, but he is
No.
licensed.
I was asking him about my dog one day, and he said, I'm not, I don't do the dog thing. I was like, well, if it was a horse.
Well, don't let him lie to you, because not a funny story, but a true story. But it was funny at the end. Several years ago, we had a Cocker Spaniel that had been with us for 13, 14 years, and we lost. And when I worked for Lowe's, I traveled a lot, so this was my wife's companion. So when we lost the dog, she was sad, and I got her a new dog, a Bichon Frise. And the day we got up the dog, my son was walking, or my niece was walking the dog, and my son didn't see it. Anyway, the dog was injured, and it was just a baby, and we were terrified. And it was after hours, and I had just started with the city, had been here a couple of weeks, and remembered the mayor was a vet. So I called him up and said, I'm coming to your house. So he said, well, I don't normally do that. I said, I don't care, we're coming over anyway. So he was very kind and brought his stethoscope out and checked the dog out, and gave us some reassurance.
A jack of all trades.
And he is, and got a lot of great, Frankie's got a lot of great vision, and a lot of the stuff that, for Frankie, I always say this, he leads from behind. And what I mean by that is that he doesn't like a lot of credit. He doesn't get out front, but he is a intricate part of the wheel. He has a lot of vision. He has a lot of drive. Talks to me daily, and things like the projects that you've seen out there, like the retail development, Thompson's Road development, Marion's Branch, commercial air service. A lot of these things were things that I heard when I came on board in 2004 that he said we wanted to get into, and the horse trail is no different. This is again been one of his dreams. The RV park was something that he really wanted to push. And the thought is really take Bob Amos Park and bring it into really an upscale, really nice facility that you can come camping in. Now he can go up there and play soccer camp, have picnics, have softball games, community events, basketball. The overlook has been transformed, a lot of shelters, and now the horse trail, and along with the 5-mile walk trail. So this is a great addition. And one of the things, let me clear up something also as to mine. First of all, I meant to mention, Monday, the city, I'm proud to announce the city hired our new director of grants, which is Trish Varney. Trish has an extensive background in grants. She worked for Mountain Water at one point. She worked for Summit Engineering at one point doing their grants. And I was lucky enough to recruit her to the city of Pikeville. So Trish started with us Monday. And so she's going to be looking for some additional grants. That we've got some big projects such as a new sewer plant coming up. Several other things that we're working on that we'll be able to announce hopefully in the next several months to follow. So we are not project poor right now. There is so many things on the horizon. It is unbelievable, which is why I said I think our landscape will completely change in the next few years. But understand too, I want the public to understand is that the next thing we'll talk about here in just a moment is the retail. I wanted to give everybody an ending on the retail development and what's going on with that. But there's been a lot of discussion around the retail development and the fire station and the funding, the coal severance line items. But understand too that Pikeville, there was even I think some comments written in the paper, and I certainly understand everybody is passionate about what they believe in, and I believe and totally understand that everybody has a line of importance. The county has projects that they're pursuing, and that's what they're elected to do, and I applaud them for that. The city has projects, and as it was, the county judge mentioned, the city is just as much as part of the county as the county is part of the city. So, we don't always agree on certain things, and we can simply agree to disagree, but we still need to look at what I was saying earlier, at the participation and coming together and understanding what's in the best interest of our community. But there's sometimes a misperception out there by folks just because of not understanding the facts. And this isn't anything to do with the county, but or the city or the coal severance, but a lot of these projects that the city does is that we go out there and work very hard on getting grants in order to, again, improve the quality of life. Because like I said earlier in the show, the city park that was visited this past year wasn't visited by the Pikeville Independent School System. It was county school system after county school system. Well, we welcome that. I mean, that's great because it's their mothers and fathers that's working at the hospital or at Walmart or at the engineering company that need to come in and let their kids enjoy all those amenities and benefits. They're using our roads and our fire protection and those services that they're in here working for. That's what a regional hub is. But what in all that, a lot of the way or in the way that the city continues to grow and provide those quality of life to attract those businesses, because as I just mentioned, this national chain restaurant would not be here if we didn't have the university growing, the hospital growing, the new retail growing, and that's what creates an economy, and that's what feeds a hub. I mentioned on a previous show that 2007 census data states that there's 33% of the businesses in 2007, the business firms, are located here in the city of Pikeville. So it's the place where a big percentage of the county works and depends on for the services, not just the county but the region. So it's important to keep that in mind. So when the city goes out and and the reason we hired a grant director a couple of years ago when we started this, Melanie Stevens was with us first, and she went on to another position, and we wish her the best of luck. She's a great, helped the city in a lot of different ways. But she kind of paved the way for what we were doing. So a lot of the projects that we go after are grant specific. Because some of the concerns that was recently written, for example, or said, is that if the city really needed coal severance funding for the fire station, for example, then instead of spending money on a horse trail or other projects, that why not divert those funds to take care of this need? And that's not how it works, is what I'm trying to get, at the end result is what I'm trying to get to, is that when the horse trail example, that's a specific grant that was through the governor's office that was specifically for a horse trail. We cannot spend that money on anything else other than a horse trail, along with most of our grants that we apply for. When you're applying for, there's a difference in coal severance, and that's what I guess I'm trying to explain to the public, is there's a difference in coal severance line items versus a grant. When you go to Frankfort and you appeal for coal severance or ask for coal severance funds, it's a wide open. There is a lot of different things that the coal severance has to qualify for: quality of life, infrastructure, several other things. But the legislators have the right to suspend those laws and pretty much spend it as they want to. But when they go in and they list that line item, then that's what that coal severance line item has to be spent for. So if they go in and say it's for a fire station, it has to be spent for a fire station, unless it's amended. But a grant outside of coal severance are grant specific. When you go and apply for example, we just received a grant for the police department to where they're doing the highway patrol for Buckle Up. So the police department can't go out and buy guns with that. They have to spend that on payroll initiating the Buckle Up campaign. The same thing for the horse trail. So we were very successful in getting 2 different grants for the horse trail and creating about a $350,000, $320,000 or $50,000 in that range project that will improve the Bob Amos Park with the overall quality of life. That those grant dollars would have went elsewhere if we hadn't applied for them to bring those projects into our community. But and again, those horse trails, I guarantee you, aren't going to be just utilized by City of Pikeville residents. Because, matter of fact, very few City of Pikeville residents have horses in their backyards.
Right.
To where a lot of the folks that are, to your point, are outside the region or within the county that own the horses that want to come in and enjoy our pristine beauty and all the amenities in and around the city. So, again, just to clear up some misfacts out there, but also to say that we're very excited about all these amenities and very excited by the fact that we've got Trish Varney now in our corner out there fighting for the city for every dollar we can possibly bring to our people here in our community and to this county.
She'll be a great addition.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. You mentioned retail development, and we do want to end today with a little bit of an update about our retail development project. Been in the news quite a bit, been in the newspaper, I should say. A lot of people have many questions concerning whether or not the question I get is it really still going to happen? Is it really still going to happen? Well, yes. Yes, I can wholeheartedly say it is still going to happen. Some things, every project will have hiccups every now and then, and and that's, you work through those things. So let's bring people up to date on what's going on with the post office, the fire department, when we can expect to see some movement. I know there's a realtor in our area that is already taking applications, happily to take applications for the housing development that's going to be over top of many of the retail spaces coming in early, she says 2014 in that area. So it is going to happen, because you can't tell somebody they're going to be able to live someplace and not have a place for them to go. Right. So let's update.
Well, where to start, Jill? This is, and I knew it would get to this point at some time, meaning that we're getting hopefully close to the closing. Is the project moving forward? To answer to the public, the answer is yes. The only thing that would hinder the project at this point, the only thing, is the post office. Now, when I say the post office is because we are buying the post office, and we still have to close with the post office. Now, the city controls and the developer controls our relationship in the sale of the property, which is the majority of the property down there. But the only thing that can hinder this property, and it's actually already through its due diligence process, so the chances of anything happening with the post office deal, it's 99% done is what I understand. I'm actually expecting a call today from the regional office to start looking at setting up the schedule for the closing date. Now, and again, I kind of addressed this on a previous show, but just to clarify, the issue that has been played out in the news or in paper and on the radio and TV and WIMT and everywhere else, it evolves around the coal severance issue, and that and again, I want to make this very, very clear to the public and explain this issue, because it goes beyond the coal severance. We'll work past that issue. We're working with the county. The county, like I said, they have a lot of projects going on too. I was happy and congratulate the county on the recent announcement of their victory with Purdue Pharma on their award. So it was a lot of great work with the county in pursuing that. So, but the county has budget issues, and we certainly understand that. And I've said that from day one. I think there was some comments that I said that may have been taken wrong. But regardless, the project from the city standpoint will move forward. But here's the thing I need to make very clear. It's not that the city wanted to move the fire station, okay? And that's where there's some residents down in that area that was misunderstood. I think some of the county folks misunderstood. But it wasn't that the city decided to go in and say, okay, we're going to move the fire station in order to make room for this new retail development. The original intent was to leave the fire station there. What the issue is in order for the pro forma to work, and for those that may not be aware what a pro forma is that's when a developer, somebody comes in and they put the numbers to, this is what my invested dollars are, this is what I can get for rent or out of the market to pay my debt off and to make enough money to where it's going to be profitable for me and to pay whether it's my tax or my investors or myself for that matter. So when the developer came in to do the pro forma, the layout of the property wasn't large enough to create enough stores for him to bring in the brand names, because what happens is that you may bring in brand A that is a national brand and it's the big box. They know they're the big box in town. They know that they're going to pull all the small guys in. So they're the leading name, and I'll use Walmart for an example, and it's just so that I don't have to mention any of the names that are coming. But let's say Walmart. Walmart comes in knowing that if I locate here, they're going to bring so much traffic in that retail is going to grow around them. And a prime example is that's what's happened originally down there. Lowe's came first, Walmart came second, and all the other development grew around them. These big box stores know this. When they come in, they say, we're willing to come into your development, but this is what we're going to pay. The developer usually ends up losing money on these big boxes. And I did this for a living for almost 17 years with Lowe's, and 3 years as a district manager. I was part of going into markets and basically dictating to different properties where we would go. So communities want you in because of the jobs you create and the national brand recognition. So in order for him to be able to bring the big boxes in, the property layout down there was not big enough, in his opinion, for him to be able to invest. So, but he did look at it and suggested that if I could get the post office property, I can make it work. So that's what he did. He went after the post office property. The whole deal was constructed around us getting actually acquiring the post office, and it was a great opportunity because the post office was only using about a third of the building because, as you know, they took the sorting jobs up to a different market. So they could use a smaller building, which would mean less expense for them. We needed the property that they sit on that they're not utilizing for this development to create these jobs and quality of life. So in our trip to the post office, we sat down with the regional group, and again, this is a group, I can't remember the exact number, there's over like 6,000 post offices on the eastern coast, and explained to them how they could help this community with creating 400 to 600 new jobs, bringing other markets in our community because of these national brand shopping names. And they were apprehensive at first because their position is we already own the building. Why do we want to invest in something new when we already own and we're established there? And we explained to them what we thought the benefits were, and they said they agree that we were able to change their mind. However, the post office, as a federal agency, has a process, as every federal agency does for everything. And for them to be able to justify selling their building, they had to meet certain criteria. They came back at us and said, we have met with our committee and we are willing to move forward with the deal under one condition. And that condition is the only place we will agree to locate is where your fire station is currently sitting. The reason we want to locate there is, first of all, we need the visibility because obviously if you read it in the press, the post office is struggling financially. And what they wanted was two issues. One is they wanted to be part of the retail development because that's a lot of foot traffic because they make money off of stamps and packages and boxes and all that. So that was the first thing. The second thing is, or as part of the first, is that the visibility off of Thompson's Road, people driving past them would see them first as part of the development, and it would create top of the mind awareness. Every time I drive by the post office, that's where they're at and that's where we want to go. So that was the second issue. The big issue, however, is for a post office, and I've learned a lot, believe me, over the last 2 years, but especially last year and a half with the post office, is they actually have to sit down and fill out this report that literally takes about 3 months to do. And they have to actually, even if they move the post office a foot, they have to do this report. Mm-hmm. And it determines how much their carriers, how far their carriers would be driving extra, how far their routes are away from the new location. They have to put all that together to justify to the committee that this is a good business deal on their behalf. So their position is the reason we went over there is because of visibility, but more important, by directly moving right beside of them,
next to it,
it takes all every issue that can be brought up that would kill this deal. It takes all those out of the argument. So their position with us is if you really want this to work to where it won't be questioned, because our committee will question this, this is the simplest and easiest way to make this deal happen. So if you want us at the table and you want us to do what you're asking to do, this is the only place we're going to go, and these are our terms. They dictated terms. Because I smile and say this because I've made some friends out of these folks, but I called one time and I said, this is one of the things that I'd like to change, and asked for their consideration. And I got a very direct comment on the other end, just being very blunt, that snickered and said, Mr. Blackburn, please understand, you're asking for us to do this. We're not asking you to do this. So you will go by our terms and our guidelines. It was that blunt. And I said, I now understand, as long as I know the rules, I can play by those rules. So the whole point of it is that we're not simply moving the fire station because we want to. We're moving the fire station because in order to make these 400 to 600 jobs possible and to bring in all these national brands, we have to. So the commission set out 2 years ago, understanding this process. We already have a site selected. It's already prepared. We saved the taxpayers money because we're using a site that we already own. The question is, what we were recently asked is, well, why are you going to Cedar? Why wouldn't you stay in that area? Well, and will it impact our homeowners insurance? And the answer is it should not, because under the way that your homeowners insurance for fire is selected, Jill, it's based on what they call an ISO rating. And in order to maintain an ISO rating, we have the lowest in the county, by the way, because we have a full-time fire department. We have a current rating of an ISO of level 4. And in order to achieve that level, as long as you have a fire station within 5 miles of every home, that's what creates that ISO rating. So the new location that we're moving the station to maintains that ISO for that whole area down there at 5. The other big advantage of why we selected the site was easy accessibility to US 23. most of our accidents and fatalities happen on US 23. If you look at the traffic report that the Transportation Cabinet provides, and I think you can get it actually online, you'll notice Keyser Heights, Ratliffs Creek, the 119 intersection, all that area down through there is a high crash area. And a lot of those crashes ends up in big injuries or even fatalities. So the accessibility to 23, not having to maneuver through all that Walmart traffic and Lowe's traffic, there was an advantage to us to put it at the location. The other big advantage is the city has plans on growing. You've heard us talk about Marion's Branch many, many times. And currently we have a station 1, 2, and 3. Station 2 is on Island Creek. Station 2 services South Mail Trail. But because of where Marion's Branch is located, it will be outside the 5-mile radius. So the commission tried to meet their fiduciary responsibility and said, if we take and move it to this point, not only can we have quicker response time, and we'll be quicker to Pikeville High School in case there's an incident, or if there is an emergency, or if there is the sports programs at Bob Amos Park, but also by locating at Cedar, it also puts us 5 miles to where the Food City is on South Mail Trail. So our current city limits, we can take Station 2 and Station 3 and combine them into one station, still have better response time, still maintain our ISO rating of 4, and still have one station, and Station 2, which is at Island Creek, if there's a train coming, they're on the other side of the track. So it got rid of the track issue also. So the commission did the responsible thing and being able to serve more people, better, quicker, and be, again, understanding that we at some point will have to build another station towards Marion's Branch. So we can go back to the 3rd station instead of having to have 4 stations and additional personnel. So it was, again, trying to meet their financial responsibility, trying to take care of the city as a whole and do the right thing. So it actually turned out to be a blessing, is my whole point, is that not only will we create these jobs, but it was all dictated by what the post office wanted. So with all that said, we are through at least the contract negotiation with the post office. The developer is advertising with AAA Realty right now, with Shirley Blackburn, on filling these 200 apartment units. Trying to see how much time we still got left. I don't want to roll over. The other point is, 2 weeks ago, you've heard me mention this before, is the National Retail Conference for the nation. And again, what happens is all these developers go to Las Vegas, and all these national brand retailers go to Las Vegas, and about 70 to 80% of all the decisions that are made on markets, on what markets these retailers are looking at, they send their market people in, are actually made at this conference. It's kind of unique because what they do is they go in and they set up a booth. The developer will put on a board his markets with a show of a map and the demographics of the area, and then the retailers basically just go around and say, this is a market I'm interested in. They schedule an appointment. They go back in another meeting room and they show them the market and sell on them. So Neil attended that meeting 2 weeks ago, was very successful. He's come back with another pocket full of clients. So he's telling me now that he's got and you can go on his website and see all the stores he's already got filled, but he's got commitments with several, and he's also got letters of intent with additional people. And again, these are they're smaller boxes, but these are boxes you'd have to go to Lexington or Charleston or Kingsport to see. So I'm really excited. He called me last week and was really, actually, Neil gets excited as well, but he called me and he said, I got a great opportunity. So he's got an actual restaurant that he swore me, he said, of everything that I've told you, this one you can't announce. But he's got a great restaurant that is signed a letter of intent, willing. If he doesn't know if he can work him into this development, but he's also working on some additional land, which he's been working on for the past 3 months. Mm-hmm. So there is some other opportunities that's going to come out of all this as well. So the project is running forward. You're going to see in the press this week, the commission met last night for a first reading of a zoning change. Part of the issue is that there's some property down there that the Joint Planning Commission had to meet that had to be rezoned. Some folks of the local community had some concerns with that and came to the public hearing and voiced their concerns. I addressed that committee last week. They agreed to pass a resolution zoning part of the area that definitely had to be zoned. The commission did that first, and how that works is once that they pass a resolution, then it comes back to the commission for them to ratify. So the commission did the first reading this week, had a special meeting yesterday, and we'll do the second reading on Monday. So the zoning's in place. He's already applying for his permits. He's got his design already done. He's advertising in the market. He's got his retailers lined up. And so it's the project, and understand too, and as I explained to the residents and the Joint Planning Commission, Jill, the city has, that area down there is already zoned commercial. We already are under contract with the developer. Legally, we can't stop it if we wanted to. It's the project's moving forward, and the developer has already committed to several retail boxes. So for assurances, the only caveat that's in the contract that would give this thing any hiccups is if somehow the post office had an issue, but they're already through their final review process. So once they get their final review, then, like I said, 99% completed. So I'm really excited about it. If all goes well, and I'm hesitant to say this because with a project of this magnitude, you're going to have a hiccup here or there. But if all goes well, he's hoping to do a groundbreaking by mid-July.
Mid-July.
That's his.
So we're talking just about a month away.
A month away, yeah.
About a month away.
His assistant, Nancy, called me a week before last and wanted to go ahead and schedule the date. And I smiled and I said, Nancy, before that I bring in and line up the community, let's make sure that we get a closing date first before that we do that. I would prefer. So she agreed with me. So we're good.
It is coming.
It is coming.
So.
And as before we run out of time, as is the Jenny Wiley Theater. I know there's been some questions
Quickly
on that real fast. We had our pre-construction meeting last week. All the bids have been awarded. I have signed the notice to proceed. I've actually got a meeting with the architects next Friday to finalize a couple of selections, the seat fabric color, the carpets, all that. Meeting with them in New York on next Friday. And they are hoping to mobilize on around the 17th, somewhere between the 17th and 20th. So you will start seeing actual movement on the property down. When I say property, I know Al Greenfield here is snickering at me off camera because he's going to be dealing with the jackhammering and the shaking of this building, I'm sure, for a few weeks.
But it's all for a great reason.
Yeah.
I'm going to let that be the final word.
Sounds great.
Lots of fun things going on. We'll meet back in a couple of weeks to see where we stand on many other projects, and I know that you'll probably have some new things to discuss then too, so
I'm sure.
it'll be fun.
I'm looking forward to it.
This has been the City Manager's Report. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.